So I use a 4.5 inch with a 120 grit on there, and it helps you break down the fiberglass a lot faster. This fiberglass is pretty difficult to hand sand, so you want to get it roughed up, and that's the shape you should be in at that point. And of note, do this somewhere with a lot of area and space, because fiberglass is dusty. So that's where we're at. At this point, we're ready for And you want to make a quick note. You're going to do the fiberglass maybe once or twice. And when I say doing it once or twice, you're more than likely going to have to lay a little fiberglass, get it all in place, knock that down. And when I say knock it down, I mean sand it. And once you sand it, you're going to see a few high spots and maybe a crack. And see, in this area right here, I had a slight line that was developing. So once I sanded it, so what I decided to do was add a little more fiberglass with a little more fiberglass hair on in between there. There's a fiberglass mat hair, whatever you decide to call it, in between there. And I'm going to bring those areas back down. You know you're pretty good with it, or it's at a good point where you can come by with nothing but fiberglass resin, and you should have a nice coat without a bunch of humps and no holes inside of it. So what we're going to do, we're going to knock this down, knock that down, get it all ready, and then we'll be ready for the next step. And the next step will be putting down a little lightweight filler on there to fill in any imperfections, and it's a lot easier to sand. So that's where we're at now. Hand sanding, let's go bring everything in line. This is where we stand at now. Let's not get too close. This is pre-filler. That is not too bad. And this is the stage you want it at before you add your little lightweight filler. And we are slowly starting. After hand sanding with some become a full pod. 60 or 80 grit. I have to check the paper to be on the safe side. But as you can see, still have a few lines and things. But again, filler would take in most of that. But what I like to come do, I'm going to go over it with some 80 and then possibly up to some 120, which I'd have it pretty smooth. And that's smooth enough because again, you want to get the high spots out more than anything else. The low spots or the little lines, they'll come out when I go over it with the 80 and the 120. And anything besides that, the filler will get, because we're still going to sand it once we get the filler. Just wanted to show you what your shape. Right now you're worried about your curves, your shape, and everything goes along smoothly. So that's where we're at with smooth enough, because again, we're going to apply filler. Let's get on to the next phase. Once you apply a little filler, you should be able to fill in any pinholes and things of that nature. You shouldn't have many. If you laid your fiberglass correctly, without a lot of air pockets, make sure you damped it down very well. You shouldn't have many. As you can see, a few pit holes right there. That'll all be filled with the filler. Okay, so as you can see here, let's move on to add a little filler. Lightweight body filler, and taking up all the low spots, smoothed it out. Now for some, you can probably send it off ready for paint. That's pretty good. I like to go over it with one more coat. I pretty much coat the entire thing, and I do a little trick where I use filler with a little resin mixed into it, not for strength. I do it to make it a little more liquid, for liquidity. It kind of liquefies it and allows you to paint it on with a paintbrush. And that way you get an even coat without not as much sanding from having lines of using a plastic shaper or anything of that nature. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Hang on a second. Which gives us the ability to pretty much stir it and paint it on. Let's get to painting. Okay, you can see we have our freshly painted on lightweight filler. And again, I prefer to paint it on Makes it a lot smoother, easier to sand. Well, easier to work with instead of having all the lines and all that other crap. So this will take a little light sanding on it. Everything will be smooth. And this one we can call done. Well, of course, I'll add video of that. And this can be done by hand, or you can use a machine. I prefer by hand. I can feel it. I got a little better control. And it doesn't take very long. This right here is 2 minutes worth of sanding at this point. And as you can see, we're just about ready to do a little come over it with some 120, then up to some, well, yeah, about 100 to some 220, and we ought to be pretty good at that point. And at that point, you're ready for some primer. And again, that's just by hand with a couple of minutes of sanding. Your choice on how you decide to do it, but I find that to work the best. Everything has a good shape. It's uniform, nothing weird about it, which is important because painters can be very picky. And a lot of them, unless it's not 100% perfect, which works in your benefit as well, they will want to refinish it. And at that point, you're going to be paying. Paint work is expensive enough. The whole purpose of doing this project yourself is to, as a DIY, just to say you did it, to have something to be proud of, but also to save a little bit of money. And if you don't have this part of it correct, it's going to cost you a lot in having them shape it, form it, and getting it ready for paint. So spend a lot of time, if necessary, to get this as smooth and as error-free as possible. They don't mind adding a little putty because you can spread that with your finger, lightly sand it and go. But if you can get it to the point where you don't need any putty, that's even better. Let the filler do what it's supposed to do, feel, get it ready for paint. And at this, little primer, wet sand it, send it off to the painter. I hope this helps anybody who was considering doing this. This can be a little tedious, but good 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours out your day to do both of them. And you have some 8-inch pods ready to go. Again, I hope this video helped.